Well, what we are seeing is a humanitarian crisis in a very large scale. I visited Jordan and Lebanon in spring, and UN personnel there said that what is happening in Syria now is the worst humanitarian crisis in our time. And almost half of the population of Syria is fleeing from their country, 12 million people. And of course, that is what we are seeing now. At that time, 8 million people were still in Syria. 4 million could have come out of Syria, and then many of them to Turkey. And now many of them, has been able to reach the shores of Greece. So that is the scale of the crisis right now. And I think that Europe could cope with this situation. I mean, we are a country with 500 million people. We are quite a rich continent. We could, if we really share the responsibility here, actually cope with this situation and save people's lives.
All right, you've actually said about Britain and France and their management of the migrant crisis in Calais that they're not taking responsibility, essentially saying they're playing politics. Today, the interior ministers of both countries announced basically what is a security plan to secure the border. What do you make of what was announced in Calais today?
Well, I think we have to solve this among our countries and in a way that we share the responsibility instead of trying to pass the hot potato around among ourselves. And I think that more countries should do more to grant permission to the people who are now fleeing for their lives from the war. And of course, that goes for many countries in Europe. We've had an embryo of such a cooperation within the European Council and the ministers now saying that we are trying to redistribute some of the migrants from Italy and Greece. We're talking about 40,000.
Yeah.
But we need to do a lot more than that to solve the situation in Greece and Italy.
But, Minister, do you still believe Britain and France are not taking responsibility? Today, they did not announce a plan to relocate migrants. They announced a plan to secure the border and add police at the border.
Yes, and I saw that, for instance, when we met in Brussels in summer, UK didn't want to be a part of such a solution. They didn't want to be a part of redistribution from Italy and Greece. There was a zero on their when the other countries asked them to take some of their refugees there. So that's my point. If we're going to solve this, all countries must do more. And UK must do more, France must do more, of course, Poland must do more, and many other countries, because Sweden and Germany, that now takes huge responsibility right now. We can do that and we can cope, but we cannot cope forever with this. Some other countries must help us here.
Now, the UNHCR head, Antonio Guterres, even commended your country, Sweden. You have the highest number of asylum seekers per capita. Germany is taking in tens of thousands, but as you mentioned, other European countries are not. When you look at the numbers, there were more refugees and political asylum seekers after the Balkan Wars in the early 90s in Europe than there are today. So these numbers are historically not even as high as they've ever been. So let me ask you, as the Minister for Migration and Justice, why is that right now? Why is there such a reluctance in Europe?
Well, I think sometimes it has to do with political leadership. There has to be politicians that can face their voters and say that this is actually a responsibility now for us that we should be able to step up to. Of course, it will cost money here, but we must also see it as an investment. Because Europe is also an aging continent. We need more people to work in Europe. We need more people in the age in productive ages, so to speak. So immigration seen from that point of view actually could be a beneficiary for Europe. So